It was a peaceful day in the heart of the Earth Alliance, but for Captain Alex Bonner, the calm before the storm never lasted long. A respected hero and skilled diplomat, Bonner was sent on a mission to an alien planet, one that had been at the heart of a fierce dispute with humanity for years. This was no ordinary mission. The fate of Earth's relationship with the Kalthar Dominion rested on his shoulders. The Dominion, an advanced alien race, had never looked favorably upon humans, often mocking their primitive technology and seemingly weak resolve. But now, Earth's leaders believed that peace was possible, and Bonner was the one chosen to bring that hope to life. When the massive alien ship carrying Bonner and his small team landed on the strange planet, the atmosphere was thick with tension. The alien city sprawled beneath them, towering spires of metal and stone intertwined with glowing holograms and sharp, jagged edges that reflected an advanced, militaristic society. The air was different here, heavier, almost suffocating. Bonner's mission was simple: meet with the Dominion's leader, Supreme Commander Zorvath, and secure a treaty to end the hostilities between their species. But as the doors of the shuttle opened, Bonner felt an eerie silence engulf him, an unsettling premonition that something was terribly wrong. The small team of humans was escorted through a grand hall toward Zorvath's throne room. They had been promised safety, but Bonner's instincts screamed that this would not be a peaceful encounter. As they moved deeper into the palace, Bonner could see the mocking glances of Kalthar soldiers, massive beings with sharp features and glowing eyes. He had been trained to stay calm in these situations, but the tension in the air was almost unbearable. It was then that Bonner noticed the faintest flicker in the holographic display in front of him. A signal, an error perhaps, but it didn't seem right. He dismissed it for now, but his gut told him something was off. When they finally reached the central chamber, Zorvath stood waiting, his towering figure outlined by the glowing lights of the room. He welcomed Bonner with a thin, almost sneering smile. The two exchanged pleasantries, but Bonner could sense the hostility bubbling beneath the surface. Without warning, Zorvath's smile faded, replaced by a cold, calculating expression. Before Bonner could react, he heard the sharp click of weapons being drawn, followed by the deafening sound of blaster fire. The humans didn't stand a chance. The Kalthar soldiers moved swiftly, surrounding them and cutting down Bonner's team one by one. Bonner tried to fight back, but he was overwhelmed. The last thing he saw was Zorvath's cold, unfeeling eyes staring down at him. As Bonner fell to the ground, blood staining the cold, metallic floor, he knew he had failed. He had failed his team, and he had failed humanity. But even in his final moments, Captain Alex Bonner had one last trick up his sleeve. As his vision blurred, he activated the biolink device hidden beneath his uniform. The device, a cutting-edge technology designed for emergency distress signals, immediately began transmitting a message to Earth. The Dominion. They've betrayed us. Bonner's last words were barely audible, but the signal was sent. In his dying breath, Bonner had ensured that Earth would know what had happened, and the galaxy would feel the consequences of this brutal act. Back on Earth, the news of Bonner's assassination sent shockwaves through the military and government alike. The distress signal reached Earth's leadership just moments after Bonner's death. His message was simple but powerful. Humanity was at war. Earth's leaders were thrown into chaos, but one thing became clear: the time for peace was over. The death of Captain Alex Bonner would not go unanswered. The reaction was swift and severe. Earth's military forces, already prepared for conflict with the Dominion, now had a reason to act. The anger and determination that spread like wildfire throughout the ranks were unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. The Earth Alliance had long been seen as a fractured, disjointed entity, but now, united by the brutal loss of their best diplomat, they were ready for war. As Earth's leaders convened in secret, planning the retaliation, the Kalthar Dominion sat unaware, believing that their betrayal would go unnoticed. Zorvath, confident in his power and the advanced technology of his forces, mocked the humans for their weakness. He had no idea that Bonner's death would be the spark that ignited a firestorm, one that would forever change the balance of power in the galaxy. The Kelthar celebrated their victory, unaware that in their hubris, they had made the greatest mistake of their lives. Back on Earth, plans were being made, and vengeance was already in motion. Bonner's sacrifice would not be in vain. The leaders of Earth vowed that humanity would make the Dominion regret underestimating them. As Bonner's message continued to pulse through space, reaching more and more parts of Earth, military commanders began assembling their forces. Advanced spacecraft, some of the most powerful weapons ever built, were readied for war. AI-driven combat systems, cutting-edge cloaking devices, and powerful laser weapons. Everything humanity had at its disposal was now focused on one goal: to avenge Captain Bonner and destroy the Kelthar Dominion. The humans had been pushed too far, and now they were coming for the alien empire that had dared to take one of their own. The Kelthar would soon learn what it truly meant to face humanity in a fight for survival. As the first human ships launched from Earth's orbit, heading straight for the Kelthar homeworld, the Dominion could no longer afford to ignore the brewing storm. They had underestimated humanity before, and now it was too late to stop what was coming. The story of Captain Alex Bonner, the hero who had been sacrificed for peace, would soon become the rallying cry of Earth's forces. The humans would not rest until they had exacted their revenge, and the Kelthar would quickly come to regret their decision to murder a human. This was just the beginning. The echoes of Captain Alex Bonner's death rippled across Earth, stirring up emotions that would fuel an unimaginable retaliation. The loss of their hero had awakened a collective fury across the globe. No longer willing to stand idly by, Earth's leaders, military commanders, and strategists came together to plan their response to the Kelthar Dominion. They had underestimated humanity before, but now they would face the consequences of their actions. Earth's military forces were far more advanced than the Dominion had ever realized. Human technology, though often mocked by the aliens, had evolved at a pace that surprised even the most advanced civilizations. Earth had spent years preparing for just such an occasion, knowing that the Kelthar were a dangerous, unpredictable species. Now the time had come to show them that humanity was not to be underestimated. The plan was simple but effective. Earth's top strategists, along with the best minds from their war-tech divisions, were mobilized to deploy their most powerful weapons. Advanced AI-driven combat systems, experimental spacecraft, and highly trained soldiers, all were being ready to strike at the heart of the Kelthar Dominion. The mission: to send a clear message of retaliation, and more importantly, to avenge Captain Bonner's death. Commander Emma Bonner, Captain Bonner's younger sister, was given the responsibility of leading a small, elite squad of soldiers on a dangerous mission. The squad, made up of the best soldiers humanity had to offer, was tasked with infiltrating the Kelthar capital. Using cutting-edge cloaking technology that rendered them invisible to alien sensors, they would sabotage a major Kelthar supply line, crippling their forces. The mission was risky, but Emma knew it was the only way to make the Dominion understand that Earth wasn't just a peaceful planet. It was a force to be reckoned with. As the human fleet made its way toward the Kelthar homeworld, tension ran high. Emma Bonner, a seasoned soldier and strategist in her own right, stood at the command deck of the lead ship, her heart heavy with the burden of her brother's death. For her, this mission wasn't just about strategy, it was personal. Her brother had been murdered in cold blood, and she would not rest until she had avenged him. The memory of Alex's lifeless body haunted her thoughts as she prepared her squad for the task ahead. The anger and grief she felt for her fallen brother burned inside her, propelling her forward. The cloaked human ships silently entered the orbit of the Kelthar capital. Emma's squad, aboard a sleek, camouflaged vessel, moved undetected through the shadows of the alien world. Their target: a massive Kelthar supply line that ran through the heart of the planet. If they could disable it, it would cripple the Dominion's ability to respond to Earth's counterattack. The element of surprise was on their side, but they knew that the Calthar would be on high alert after Bonner's assassination. The plan was risky, but Emma trusted her team. Each soldier was highly trained and equipped with advanced technology, including weapons capable of taking down the most heavily armored Calthar soldiers. They had prepared for every possible scenario, but they knew that once they engaged the enemy, all bets were off. This mission was about more than just sabotage. It was about sending a message that the death of Captain Bonner would not be forgotten. As they neared the target area, the tension in the air was palpable. Emma could hear the sound of her own heartbeat echoing in her ears. The squad moved quickly and silently, their cloaked ships gliding through space with deadly precision. They approached the supply line, a series of massive transport vessels carrying critical supplies to the Calthar war machines. Emma's squad would need to strike fast, disabling the supply line before the Calthar could react. The first strike came without warning. Emma's team launched a series of coordinated attacks on the supply vessels, sending them into disarray. The chaos was immediate. Explosions ripped through the atmosphere as the human soldiers unleashed their weapons, disrupting the Calthar's carefully laid plans. The cloaked ships moved in perfect synchronization, striking from all sides before disappearing back into the shadows. The Calthar were caught completely off guard. The human soldiers were like ghosts, slipping in and out of sight, causing mayhem without leaving a trace. The Dominion soldiers scrambled to respond, but they were unprepared for the intensity and precision of the human attack. Emma's heart raced as she watched her squad work with flawless coordination, their actions a tribute to their training and dedication. The fight wasn't over yet, however. As the human squad disabled the supply line, the alarm systems of the Calthar capital went off. The Dominion's forces quickly regrouped, and a wave of Calthar soldiers, armed with high-powered weapons, charged toward the human squad. The situation was becoming increasingly dangerous, and Emma's squad had to act fast. They couldn't afford to be discovered, but the enemy was closing in. In a desperate bid to escape, Emma ordered the squad to split up, each taking a different route to confuse the Calthar and buy time for the others to retreat. The cloaked ships maneuvered skillfully through the chaos, dodging enemy fire and narrowly escaping the oncoming forces. Each close call made the tension even more unbearable. The suspense reached its peak as the human soldiers, moving with precision and speed, managed to slip through the alien defenses. But it wasn't without cost. As Emma's team made their escape, one of her soldiers was caught in an explosion, his ship destroyed in a fiery ball of debris. The loss hit Emma hard, but there was no time for mourning. They had a job to do, and the mission had to come first. Emma clenched her fists as she pushed forward, her resolve hardening with every step. The pain of losing her brother was still fresh, but now it was the sacrifice of her comrades that fueled her determination. She couldn't let them die in vain. The retreat was intense, and the action was relentless. Emma's team barely made it out of the alien capital, their cloaked ships darting through the void as the Calthar scrambled to track them. But the human squad was one step ahead. With their mission complete, they set course back toward Earth, ready to report their success. They had delivered a blow to the heart of the Calthar Dominion, and though it was only the beginning, it was enough to show the aliens that humanity was no longer the weak species they had once thought them to be. Back on Earth, the retaliation was just beginning. The world was watching, waiting to see what would happen next. Earth had struck first, but the war was far from over. The Dominion had made a grave mistake when they killed Captain Bonner, and they would soon learn that humanity's wrath was a force to be reckoned with. The Calthar Dominion had thought they could crush humanity with ease. After the assassination of Captain Alex Bonner, the aliens were certain that Earth would remain a peaceful, helpless planet. But they couldn't have been more wrong. The retaliatory strikes that followed were just the beginning. Humanity wasn't just striking back. They were proving that their might, their strength, and their resilience were far greater than the Calthar had ever imagined. After the successful sabotage of the Calthar supply line, Earth's forces, led by Commander Emma Bonner, took things to the next level. With the Cathar reeling from the attack, humanity was ready to hit them where it hurt the most, at their outposts scattered across the galaxy. The Earth military had perfected a new kind of warfare that combined human ingenuity with cutting-edge technology. Cloaked stealth ships, capable of hiding from even the most advanced alien sensors, became humanity's most powerful weapon. The first major strike came against one of the Cathar's remote outposts. These outposts were critical to their operations, serving as hubs for their military supplies and as listening posts for enemy movements. Earth's military had pinpointed these locations and, using their stealth ships, planned a series of devastating raids. The element of surprise was in humanity's favor, and they were determined to show the aliens that they had underestimated them in the worst way possible. Under the cover of darkness, Earth's stealth ships launched their assault. These ships were nearly invisible, their cloaking devices rendering them undetectable to the Cathar sensors. As they neared the alien outpost, the human forces silently descended, preparing to strike with brutal efficiency. The Cathar, still reeling from the earlier sabotage, were caught completely off guard. Their defenses were insufficient to stop the humans, who had already infiltrated the outpost's perimeter. The human strategy was unconventional, exploiting the very weaknesses that the Cathar had relied on. The aliens had come to trust their eye-driven defenses, assuming that these systems could predict and counter any threat. However, the humans had anticipated this. They knew that the Cathar had grown too dependent on their AI, and that a straightforward assault wouldn't be enough. Instead, they deployed tactics that confused and overwhelmed the alien systems. Eye-driven turrets fired at nothing, enemy drones flew in circles without any sense of purpose, and the Cathar were left scrambling to regain control. The human soldiers, fully equipped with high-tech weapons and advanced combat training, stormed the alien base with relentless force. They fought with precision and coordination, using a combination of stealth, speed, and brute strength. As they made their way deeper into the outpost, the humans encountered heavy resistance, but their training and advanced weapons made them a formidable foe. The battle that ensued was brutal and fast-paced, with explosions lighting up the night sky and laser beams cutting through the air. Inside the outpost, the fighting was intense. Human soldiers fought tooth and nail against Cathar warriors, engaging in close-quarters combat. Laser guns flashed and robots joined the fray, fighting side by side with the soldiers. Each moment was a test of skill and resolve. The sound of clashing metal and sizzling lasers filled the air as human soldiers pushed forward, clearing out alien defenses one room at a time. In the heart of the chaos, Commander Emma Bonner led her team with unwavering determination. Her heart was set on avenging her brother, Captain Bonner, but now she had an even greater responsibility. Her team was her family, and their safety was paramount. The stakes were higher than ever. As they advanced, they encountered more resistance, with Cathar warriors and AI-controlled drones trying to push them back. But Emma's squad was ready. They fought with everything they had, taking down enemies and pushing forward inch by inch. However, not everyone would make it out unscathed. As the battle raged on, one of Emma's most trusted soldiers, Sergeant Michael Hayes, was gravely injured. He had been with Emma since the beginning, and their bond was unshakable. He had always been the calm in the storm, the one who kept his head cool during the toughest battles. Now, as he lay on the ground, his life slipping away, Emma's heart broke. The thought of losing him was unbearable. He had become more than just a comrade in arms. He was family. The loss was devastating. Emma had lost her brother, and now she was about to lose one of her closest allies. She knelt beside him, her eyes filled with sorrow, but there was no time for mourning. Michael's last words to her were simple, but they carried the weight of a lifetime of friendship. "Finish it," he said, his voice weak but filled with determination. "Finish what we started." With those words, Emma's resolve hardened. She wiped away her tears and turned back to the fight. There was no time to grieve. There was only time for vengeance. She and her team pressed forward, taking down enemy after enemy, until the outpost was completely dismantled. The Kelthar had underestimated humanity, and now they were paying the price. The human soldiers proved their might in a way that would resonate across the galaxy. As the mission neared its end, Emma stood amidst the wreckage of the Kelthar outpost, her heart heavy with the sacrifices her team had made. Michael Hayes' death weighed on her, but it also gave her the strength to continue. The Kelthar had taken from them, but the humans had given everything to take it back. The battle was over, but the war was far from finished. Back on Earth, the news of the successful raid spread like wildfire. The entire world was watching as humanity's forces continued to prove their strength. The Kelthar had made a fatal mistake when they murdered Captain Bonner, and now they were facing the full wrath of a united Earth. The Kelthar had thought they were the superior species, but humanity had just shown them that even the most advanced civilizations could be brought to their knees by the unbreakable will of humankind. The retaliation had only just begun, and the Kelthar had no idea what was coming next. The humans had proven their might, and they were far from done. The war had escalated, and now the Kelthar would face the consequences of underestimating the human spirit. The Kelthar Dominion had always considered themselves the pinnacle of advanced technology and military might. Their fleets were massive, their AI systems unmatched, and their strategy flawless. But as the war with humanity raged on, they began to realize just how wrong they had been. Earth's forces had shown the Kelthar that technological superiority wasn't enough to guarantee victory. It was the heart and determination of humanity that had proven to be the true weapon. After the devastating raids on the alien outposts, the Kelthar Supreme Commander, Zorvath, sat in his war room, staring at the holographic displays of his fleet. His hands trembled as he reviewed the latest intelligence reports. Humanity had not only survived their first strikes, but had also adapted and retaliated with greater force. The precision and effectiveness of Earth's military tactics were unlike anything Zorvath had ever anticipated. His self-confidence, once unshakable, now cracked. The Kelthar had underestimated humanity in a way that would cost them dearly. Commander Emma Bonner and her team, driven by the memory of her brother's death and the sacrifices of her soldiers, had proven themselves time and again to be far more resourceful than the aliens had imagined. They had taken the fight to the Kelthar with intelligence and bravery. Now, Emma's next mission would be a game-changer, a mission that would deal a blow to the Kelthar fleet itself. Emma's team had gathered vital intelligence, and they knew the key to the Kelthar's strength was their advanced AI systems. These AI systems controlled everything from their fleet's navigation to their strategic decisions. They were the backbone of the Kelthar's military superiority. If Emma and her team could disrupt these systems, they could cripple the Kelthar's entire fleet, turning the tide of the war in humanity's favor. The plan was risky, but it had the potential to shift the balance of power. Emma's squadron was tasked with infiltrating the heart of the Kelthar's operations, a heavily fortified command ship that housed their central AI control hub. The ship was a fortress, its outer defenses designed to repel even the most determined attackers. However, Earth's forces had learned from their previous victories. They had developed new strategies, and now they would strike at the very core of the alien fleet. As Emma and her team prepared for the mission, the atmosphere was tense. This was no ordinary strike. It was a direct challenge to the Kelthar's most advanced technologies. They would be infiltrating the command ship, bypassing AI-driven security, and accessing the core of the Kelthar's fleet control systems. It was a suicide mission, but Emma knew the stakes. The success of this mission could alter the entire course of the war. The team infiltrated the Kelthar command ship with precision, their cloaking technology ensuring that they were invisible to the enemy sensors. As they silently moved through the corridors of the ship, Emma couldn't shake the thought of her brother. His death had set this mission in motion, and it was now personal. She had to succeed, not just for Earth, but for him. The weight of the mission pressed heavily on her, but her resolve was unshakable. They moved forward, undetected, with one goal in mind: to cripple the Calthar's AI and give humanity a fighting chance. Once inside the AI control hub, the team faced a new challenge: hacking the Calthar's complex systems. The AI was sophisticated, adaptive, and nearly impenetrable. It had been designed to anticipate and counter any attack, making it the perfect defense for the Calthar's fleet. But Emma and her team had spent months preparing for this moment. They had studied the Calthar's technology and weaknesses, and now they were ready to strike. As the team worked to breach the system, the tension in the room was palpable. The seconds felt like hours as they navigated through the Calthar's security layers. With each passing moment, the risk of detection grew, but they couldn't afford to fail. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the team managed to access the core systems. The moment the breach occurred, the Calthar's central AI went into lockdown mode, attempting to defend itself against the intrusion. But it was too late. The human team had already planted a virus that began to disrupt the AI's operations. The Calthar fleet, once a seamless and coordinated force, was now in chaos. The virus scrambled the fleet's navigation systems, causing ships to drift off course, lose communication, and collide with one another. The mighty alien fleet, which had once seemed invincible, was now in disarray. Earth's forces, seeing the opportunity, launched a full-scale assault, taking advantage of the chaos within the Calthar ranks. As the battle raged outside, Emma's team made their escape, their mission accomplished. They had delivered a devastating blow to the Calthar Dominion. The enemy's once unbeatable fleet was now crippled, and Earth's forces were poised to strike with everything they had. The Calthar had made the mistake of underestimating humanity's will and ingenuity. Their belief in the superiority of their technology had blinded them to the one thing that made humanity dangerous: their ability to adapt, to think outside the box, and to fight with everything they had. The visuals of the battle were nothing short of cinematic. High-speed space battles raged in the skies as Earth's ships, now emboldened by their success, tore through the disoriented Calthar fleet. Laser beams streaked across the void, and explosions rocked the alien ships as they tried to regroup. On the ground, the human soldiers fought with renewed vigor, their spirits lifted by the success of Emma's mission. The Calthar forces were no longer the unstoppable juggernaut they had once been. They were scrambling, reacting, and losing control. Meanwhile, Supreme Commander Zorvath sat in his war room, watching the chaos unfold. His confidence had been shattered, and now he understood the full extent of the mistake the Calthar had made. They had assumed that their technology and AI systems would keep them safe. They had underestimated humanity's ability to fight, adapt, and innovate. And now it was too late to reverse the damage. As Zorvath stared at the holographic map of his fleet, now in ruins, he realized the truth. Humanity had proven their worth, and the Calthar were no longer the dominant power in the galaxy. The war was far from over, but Earth's forces had struck a decisive blow, and the Calthar now faced a future where they would have to reckon with the unyielding strength of humanity. The war between Earth and the Calthar Dominion had reached its breaking point. After months of devastating strikes, tactical brilliance, and emotional sacrifices, humanity was ready for its final act of vengeance. Earth's forces, having crippled the Calthar fleet and disrupted their AI systems, were prepared to launch a full-scale assault on the alien capital. The fate of humanity, and perhaps the entire galaxy, rested on the outcome of this final battle. Emma Bonner, the leader of Earth's retaliation force, stood on the bridge of the flagship, her gaze fixed on the massive Calthar capital, looming large on the holoscreen in front of her. The alien planet, once thought to be invulnerable, was now the target of Earth's most daring and dangerous mission. Emma's heart pounded in her chest. The weight of this mission was heavier than any before it. This wasn't just about victory, it was personal. Her brother, Captain Alex Bonner, had been killed on this alien world, and her team had sacrificed everything to reach this moment. She looked over at her crew, brave men and women who had become her second family. They were all driven by the same desire, to avenge their fallen comrades and to strike a decisive blow against the alien forces that had dared to underestimate them. But it was more than just revenge. This was humanity's chance to prove once and for all that they would not be pushed aside. They would fight for their survival, for their planet, and for their people. Commander Bonner, one of the officers said, snapping Emma out of her thoughts. "We're ready. All systems are go." Emma nodded, her voice steady but full of emotion. "Prepare for the assault. We're taking the Calthar capital." The final showdown had begun. As Earth's forces advanced toward the Calthar planet, the Calthar leaders, still reeling from the destruction of their fleet, were desperately trying to regroup. Supreme Commander Zorvath, though shaken, was determined not to let humanity win. The Calthar had always considered themselves the superior race, and they would not allow a species they had once viewed as insignificant to defeat them. But Zorvath was wrong to underestimate the strength of human resolve. Earth's forces began their assault with a massive orbital bombardment. From hundreds of miles above the Calthar planet, Earth's warships unleashed their full firepower. The sky above the capital was torn apart by explosions as high-tech missiles and energy beams rained down on the alien city. Entire buildings crumbled, and the air was filled with smoke and fire. The Calthar had never experienced such devastation. They had relied on their superior technology to protect them, but now it seemed as if the tables were finally turning. As the bombardment continued, Emma's forces descended into the atmosphere, cloaking their ships as they made their approach to the alien city. On the ground, the alien forces were caught off guard. Earth's soldiers, clad in advanced battle armor, stormed the city, using high-tech weapons and AI-driven robots to cut through the alien defenses. Emma's squad led the charge, moving through the war-torn streets with speed and precision, taking down Calthar soldiers as they encountered them. The air was thick with the sound of gunfire, explosions, and the clashing of metal. As Earth's forces breached the walls of the alien capital, the Calthar launched their counteroffensive. The aliens, desperate to protect their homeworld, unleashed wave after wave of soldiers. Their robotic drones, controlled by the AI systems they had relied on for so long, moved to engage the human forces. The fighting was intense and brutal, with both sides throwing everything they had at each other. Close quarters combat erupted as human soldiers and Calthar warriors collided in the streets. Emma fought alongside her team, leading by example, her heart driven by the memory of her brother. Her energy was relentless, her movements precise as she tore through alien forces. She had never been more focused, more determined. Her soldiers followed her lead, pushing forward with a force that matched the ferocity of the Calthar's resistance. They were no longer the underdogs. Now, they were the storm, the force that would break the alien empire. The visual spectacle of the battle was overwhelming. Explosions lit up the sky as human warships, cloaked and agile, danced between blasts, dodging incoming fire and launching counterattacks. On the ground, the air shimmered with laser beams and plasma blasts as Earth's soldiers cut through the Calthar defenses with ruthless efficiency. Every corner of the city was a battleground, and the sound of battle echoed through the streets, as if the very planet itself was shaking in fear. The Calthar had once believed they were invincible. Their fleet was unstoppable, their technology superior, and their AI systems infallible. But Earth's forces had proven them wrong at every turn. And now, as Emma led her team into the heart of the capital, the Calthar realized they were facing something far more dangerous than technology. They were facing humanity's will to survive. Despite the overwhelming technological superiority of the Calthar, the human forces fought with a determination that the aliens couldn't comprehend. They fought not just for survival, but for justice, for vengeance, and for the future of their planet. The Calthar had mocked humanity, underestimated them, and believed that they could simply wipe them out. But now, They were learning the hard way that humans could not be so easily defeated. One by one, the Kelthar defenses began to crumble. Emma's squad pushed deeper into the heart of the city, their mission clear: to confront Supreme Commander Zorvath and bring an end to the war. The alien leader, however, was not easily swayed. He had prepared for this moment, and his last line of defense was a heavily armored fortress, surrounded by an army of elite soldiers. But Emma and her team were undeterred. The final battle between Emma and Zorvath was nothing short of legendary. The two leaders faced off in the center of the alien capital, surrounded by the wreckage of a planet torn apart by war. Zorvath, once proud and confident, now fought with desperation. Emma, though exhausted from the brutal campaign, stood tall, her resolve unbroken. The fight was brutal. Zorvath used every weapon at his disposal, from energy blades to advanced alien technology. But Emma was relentless. She fought with the fury of someone who had lost everything, someone who had witnessed the death of her brother and watched countless comrades fall in battle. With each strike, she remembered why she fought: for Earth, for humanity, and for the future of her people. Finally, with one last powerful blow, Emma defeated Zorvath. The Kelthar Supreme Commander fell to the ground, his reign of terror over. The war was over. Earth's forces had achieved the impossible. They had defeated the Kelthar Dominion, a race once considered unstoppable. And in doing so, they had proven that no matter how advanced a civilization might be, it could never overcome the spirit of humanity. The Kelthar had learned the hard way that underestimating humanity would be their greatest mistake. As Emma stood victorious, looking at the shattered remains of the alien capital, she knew the fight had been worth it. Her brother's death, the sacrifices of her team, and the countless lives lost had not been in vain. Humanity had proven that they would never back down. They had fought for their future, and now they would shape it. The final confrontation had arrived. After months of brutal warfare, where countless lives had been lost and entire fleets had been destroyed, the moment of reckoning was upon them. Earth's forces had successfully invaded the Kelthar capital, their ships lighting up the skies with relentless bombardment, and their soldiers pushing deeper into enemy territory. At the heart of the city stood Supreme Commander Zorvath, the ruthless leader who had ordered the invasion of Earth. He had underestimated humanity, and now Earth had come to claim its revenge. Emma Bonner, the human commander who had led the charge against the Kelthar, was ready. She had fought through hell to get here. Her team had lost good soldiers, her brother had been murdered, and the entire fate of Earth had rested on their success. Now all that was left was to face the man responsible for it all: Zorvath. This wasn't just about victory, it was personal. Emma had promised herself that she would avenge her brother's death, and she was about to do just that. She entered the heart of the alien fortress, the area around her dark and desolate. The war-torn city echoed with the sounds of battle as Earth's forces secured the perimeter. But inside the fortress, everything was quiet, almost too quiet. Zorvath was waiting for her. The alien leader had known this day would come. He had prepared for it, but no amount of preparation could prepare him for the resolve of a human who had lost everything. As Emma stepped into the grand chamber, she saw Zorvath standing tall, his eyes filled with anger and desperation. He was surrounded by advanced, eye-controlled weaponry, his last line of defense. But Emma wasn't intimidated. She had faced overwhelming odds before, and she wasn't about to back down now. The final battle would come down to willpower, strategy, and the human spirit, something Zorvath could never understand. "You came here to kill me," Zorvath said, his voice cold and filled with disdain. "But you have no idea what you're up against. My AI systems will destroy you." Emma's grip tightened on her weapon, her eyes burning with intensity. "You thought you could take Earth. You thought you could wipe us out like we were nothing. But you made one mistake. You underestimated humanity. And now you're going to pay." With that, the battle began. Zorvath activated his eye-controlled weapons, which seemed to come alive as they charged toward Emma. But Emma was quick, using every ounce of her training and experience to outmaneuver the alien leader. Her heart raced, but her focus never wavered. Each movement was calculated, every action driven by the desire to avenge her fallen comrades and the memory of her brother. The eye-controlled weapons attacked from all sides, but Emma's quick thinking allowed her to disable them one by one. She used her environment to her advantage, hiding behind pillars and using the technology around her to turn the tide in her favor. Zorvath's AI systems were powerful, but they lacked the flexibility and ingenuity of a human mind. Emma was resourceful, using every trick she had learned on the battlefield to stay one step ahead. The fight raged on for what felt like hours, each blow bringing them closer to the end. Emma could feel the weight of every loss she had suffered, the soldiers, the friends, her brother. She thought of them all as she fought, each victory adding fuel to her fire. But as she grew closer to Zorvath, she felt the weight of the moments settle over her. This wasn't just a battle for survival. It was a battle for humanity's future. With a final powerful strike, Emma disabled Zorvath's last line of defense. She stood over him, breathless and bruised, her weapon poised to strike. Zorvath, now on his knees, looked up at her with a mixture of hatred and fear. "It's over," Emma said, her voice steady despite the emotions swirling inside her. "You've lost. Earth is not your enemy. We never were." Zorvath's expression shifted, and for the first time, he showed a flicker of doubt. You're nothing like the others. How did you?" Emma didn't answer. With one swift motion, she ended the alien leader's reign. Zorvath, the once mighty commander, fell to the ground, his life snuffed out. The Kelthar were defeated, but as Emma stood over his body, her victory felt hollow. The battle was won, but the cost had been high. She had avenged her brother's death, but the price had been steep. The casualties among Earth's forces had been devastating. Entire units had been wiped out, and the human cost of the war was something that could never be fully measured. Emma looked around at the wreckage of the Kelthar capital. The city, once a symbol of the alien superiority, was now reduced to rubble. She had won the battle, but the victory felt bittersweet. The emotional weight of the war settled on her shoulders. Her mind drifted to the soldiers who had fallen, the faces of the men and women who had fought beside her. She thought of her brother, whose death had set everything in motion. This victory was for them, but it was also for all the lives that had been lost. As much as she wanted to feel triumph, there was a sense of grief that couldn't be ignored. But despite the sorrow, there was also a sense of closure. The Kelthar were defeated, and Earth had survived. Humanity had proven its strength, its resilience, and its ability to rise from the ashes. They had fought a war they never asked for, against an enemy they could never have prepared for, but they had won. And now, Earth was finally free. As Earth's forces secured the alien capital, Zorvath's remaining forces, realizing the war was lost, began to surrender. The Kelthar leader, broken and defeated, begged for peace. He had no choice but to accept humanity's terms. The once proud alien empire was now at humanity's mercy. In the days that followed, Earth's leaders took charge of the Kelthar capital, establishing a fragile peace. The war had ended, but the future of the galaxy was uncertain. Earth now stood at the forefront of a new era, one where humanity's strength and resilience would no longer be questioned. Emma Bonner, the woman who had led Earth to victory, took her place as one of the most respected figures in the galaxy. She had avenged her brother, secured humanity's future, and proven to the universe that humans were not to be underestimated. The war had taken everything from her, but it had also given her something precious: hope. Hope that humanity could rebuild, hope that they could lead the galaxy into a new era of peace and prosperity. Emma knew the road ahead would be difficult, but she was ready for it. The galaxy would never forget the name of Earth, and the Kelthar would never forget their mistake of underestimating humanity. The victory was bittersweet, but it was necessary. Emma Bonner had led humanity to the dawn of a new age, one where Earth's strength and unity would guide the galaxy into a future of peace.